So welcome to Business Spotlight, where today I'm joined by the lovely Simon King, who is the founder of Pixel and Vector. Welcome, Simon.
Hello, hi.
Nice to see you.
Yeah, you too. Yeah.
So tell us a bit about Pixel and Vector. What do you do?
So it's I teach creative software, but it's way beyond that. I used to lecture down south in graphic design and advertising and branding.
Yeah.
So I teach businesses. I come in and teach their graphic designers how to be, I don't know, like a trend analysis, how to be better at what they do. And it's predominantly Adobe software, but it goes into HTML and emails, web design, email marketing, everything really. So it's animation and video is another big thing as well. But I teach everything on site or online mainly. Yeah.
And how did you get into that then?
It's kind of a long story. As a struggling graphic designer in London, my friend just said there was a job going in a library 3 hours a day, and I had a queue of students asking me to help them with their vectors, with because it's a fashion university.
Okay.
And I used to help them just randomly. I used to get into trouble with the librarians for that. But I had their course leader come up to me and they said, you've improved my cohort. Would you like a job? And then that was it, really. So, and then I realized teaching software, I could jump on different courses throughout that campus. And then I launched into different universities as a lecturer, as a creative software. That in between, that practical guy that taught how to build the logo as well as theorize about it, if that makes sense. And then that moved on to coming up to Scotland to teach for various training companies. I'm a big fish in a little pond up here where the footfall is smaller. Well, the whole of Scotland is smaller than London, really, the population. So everyone gravitates towards Glasgow for software training, and there's nothing above me, which is really bananas, So I teach all these softwares, and I got to jump around quite a lot between different softwares and meet different people, but I wouldn't have it any other way. I love it.
Good. Well, nice to have you up in Scotland.
Yeah.
Tell us a bit more then about the softwares for people out there who aren't familiar with creative software or.
Okay, so the first might be
software.
Like Photoshop is a classic. Everyone, it's part of the vocabulary really of photoshopping that, or that was Photoshop. So masking in Photoshop for websites, and you can build stuff from Instagram for social media, for LinkedIn, for Facebook posts, but also like Illustrator for branding and logos.
Yeah, so you would do the illustrating, Yeah,
anything on a bag of crisps or like any kind of logo like Chupa Chups or whatever. But it's any of that branding I build from scratch and show people, empower them how to do it for themselves rather than do it for them, if that makes sense. Yeah. And another classic is InDesign, where it's all brochures, pamphlets, business cards, or anything which involves a lot of text and imagery for magazines, things like that. But they're the core three. And then there's video editing with Premiere Pro, and animation with After Effects. I could name a dozen more that I teach, but they're the predominant five I cover, and it kind of covers all the corners really. But
I just want to make sure that if anyone's watching, they can get a really clear picture of how you might be able to help their business. So you don't do these things directly, you teach them in an online course, is that right?
Yeah. So you might have a design team, a really established design team. And we live in a world where, well, I like to think, because I've met everyone up here, that people tend to keep their staff now, and they like to empower them by providing them with training. I kind of believe that. I think that's a yearly thing for a lot of training, a lot of sort of businesses, and they have funding for it. So they seek out people like myself to come on board to show them all the cool stuff, really, or how they can extend their skill set into other areas, transition from video editing to animating, or just understand email marketing, something like that, So it covers a whole wide range of creative topics. But the best thing is just to have a conversation with me, really. And and I'll empower you to do what you need to do.
Yeah. And so how do you keep at the top of your game then?
Just by meeting people. I know it sounds bizarre, but by meeting people, understanding what they do, by asking questions and even listening, I understand or how to explain that subject better to the next person. So if I've been teaching exclusively graphic design in Glasgow, for instance, for the last 8 years, I've slowly built up a very good understanding of what businesses currently do and what they can offer, but also where they can go into, you know. So I'd use other sources to kind of keep abreast of what is interesting, you know, and what is visually satisfying, you know. But it's understanding what people are coming in with and where they go to, and then I get to use that knowledge for the next people. Kind of like I am teaching them, but I'm secretly stealing the secret sauce every time and passing it on, you know. But, but you know, like empowering everyone again. Yeah.
So give us a flavour of some of the work you've done, or some of the companies. If you can name them, great. If not, no bother.
Yeah. So a big one was Thomson Reuters, which was a few months. Actually, I did it last year and a few months ago. But I did an evening session with them, which is a little unusual. So that was from 6 to 9. But that was half of their team were in America, and half were in London. And I taught them After Effects, which is animation for social media platforms, that kind of thing. And I taught them from the very beginning all the way through to advanced. And I think there was around 30 people in total, but broken up into different sort of groups, you know. So I would meet them all, categorize them into different areas, and they would come in for the introduction course, come in for an intermediate, and then an advanced. So it almost turns into like a college course, if that makes sense. You know, I will structure it based on what their learning needs are, and gradually build them to be these exceptional animators. Well, I hope they are exceptional animators. But it was very interesting, because that was one of the first times I truly went international, or felt like saying that word. I went international, but I was sitting right here, you know, on my chair, you know. So it was really bizarre. But you know, that was an interesting one. Or Scott Rail, keeping it back local, working on campaigns with them, you know. So not only showing them how to use Illustrator on Photoshop, but understanding or showing them how they could use that, you know, and empower their own decision making when it comes to campaigns, you know. So I would almost like tutor them and guide them through what they truly need, you know, like or what looks interesting, and where they could take their idea, you know. So
speaking to layman here, I'm sitting thinking in my head, I'm thinking, what is Illustrator by Photoshop?
Photoshop predominantly is photo montaging, you know, cutting up imagery, adjusting the coloring of them, and taking them into other platforms, like InDesign for magazine production, things like that, or into websites. So you need to treat images to make them lightweight and load quickly for web. But also on the flip side, you need to treat images so they're high resolution, and they look good when printed. So there's two different categories there. But also you might just be removing dimples, or content aware filling, or, you know, like people removing things, you know, or customizing content, you know. But Illustrator, it's completely starting from scratch. You know, you have an idea, you have a brand, a product. So that's another thing. Like, somebody might come to me and they don't want to pay somebody to do it for them, because they have this grand idea and they know they're creative deep down inside and they want to learn. But so I'll help them understand their idea. I'll sketch out the logo with them. We'll start, you know, and that's such a great sort of way to learn a software, when you have something physical that you want to build. You know, you have your own ideas. So we would build it together in Illustrator, and I would show them the absolute beginning of how to create these logos and icons for their brand, you know. And then we can take that brand and put it on a website, or put it on Instagram or in LinkedIn, you know. But Illustrator is fantastic for any clean graphics, you know, any, you know, architecturally strong, you know.
And so who would be like an ideal client for you then?
See, that there's a business answer to that. And, there's my ideal client, which would be a family-run business, and they really want to achieve everything under the sun, and they got great ideas or great service or product. I think I'd rather help out the little man, really, and empower them to be better, you know, so I could sleep at night, you know. Or I could go work for a big corporation like Bet365 and you know, and help their many departments. Because I did teach them, and they had 30 or 35 animators alone in that company, and then they came back for InDesign and Photoshop and Illustrator. They kept on coming back for different things or different areas. So there's the cash cow side of it, and then there's my dream, you know, home small company business that I would almost work for free for, you know. So it's a little tricky, but I'm somewhere, you know.
Well, you need a mix of both, don't you? And I guess you
you
run your
do.
own business, so you've got you're in a good position to be able to manage that. But it's great that you can work with such big clients as that.
And every company has a design agent, a design team, you know, every single one, you know, so, and everyone needs learning and understanding of new techniques. So
absolutely, upskilling. I think I've got a client, actually, we've got a design team. We might speak afterwards.
Oh, here we go then.
Yeah. So how's the industry going to change in the next, I don't know, 3-5 years? What challenges do you see coming, or changes?
You got big terms like AI kicking about. That's kind of both scary and exhilarating at the same time. What's that's going to do? I've had loads of people turn around and go, well, that's it for graphic designers. But my answer is, you still need somebody steering the ship. You know, like AI is great in terms of just coming up with like quick concepts. You know, so that's good. It's already bleeding into Photoshop. You know, because you can remove an area and swap it. You can put a lighthouse, I saw an example in, and it scours Adobe's own photo catalog and finds a lighthouse and sticks it into your image, you know. So it's mind-bending, but it doesn't look fantastic, and I don't think it'll ever will for the next maybe 10 or 20 years. It's not at that stage where it's perfect, you know. It would be too much rendering, but it's an idea generation tool. That's what I like to think of it as. And then you can take that idea and either hire a photographer or an illustrator to work on that idea, but that frees you up to come up with a few concepts really quickly. But that's a big stage, you know, a big step right now, AI. But it's not taking people's jobs just yet.
No, not yet.
Yeah.
So what challenges have you had in business up to date then, Simon? What do you think?
I think it's, in terms of business, I come up here predominantly working for other people. So I work with a range of, I don't think I'll be naming them here, but I teach for around 4 training companies in Britain. And they predominantly use me for video and After Effects animation training. So I go down to Manchester and London quite a lot for them. But the biggest issue for me is letting go of them and picking up my own work. You know, because it's a guaranteed wage then. But you know, they're taking the cash cow winnings of that. But if I could do it more for myself, do 5 days a week, I could do less work and get paid more and make it cheaper for you. You know, so less overheads for you. I get you know, a bigger cut, and we can make it work. You know, so again, the biggest deal is for me is walking around from training companies that use my services to empowering myself to do it all on my own. You know, that's
it's a bit like taking the stabilizers off, isn't it? It's a
scary
thing to get going.
I like to think of myself as the racehorse, and these training companies are stadiums. So I'm bringing in the punters, making all the money, but they're walking home with all the money. You know, so it's a bit tricky.
Yeah. So what do you want to achieve in the next 5 years with your business? What's the dream? Is it?
Sorry. What?
No. Is it just as you described, or is there anything else?
I would like to, you know, do all on my own. You know, so where I'm, you know, it's a percentage game right now where I'm doing for everyone, but I would love to just do it on my own. You know, pick and choose my hours. Even have an office in Glasgow that you know, if you have a team, or maybe I could do the odd week-long graphic design, you know, like this is how to build a brand, you know, rather than just sticking to software and naming them. I'd love to run courses, but in person, like a class, you know. I'd love to have a big old window right on Queen Street so everyone can see, like next to the Apple store or something like that, you know. That's the big idea. And just to run fun graphic design courses where people turn up and it's not work, it doesn't feel like training, they're there to have fun.
Sounds good.
I would love to sort of run my own office, you know. I think that'd be pretty cool.
Nice dream to have. So what would your advice be to anyone starting out in business or who's in business at the moment? What learnings have you taken that you give them? From
that graphic design point of view, you mean?
No, from a building a business point of view.
Building a business. Okay, well, it can be tricky, and I can talk experience from the branding point of view. So it's, you know, try and try and nail your persona, you know, try and nail what you do and try and write it down as much as possible. Like this, for instance, it's great just speaking to people, and you won't be able to word it, but it will just fall out your mouth. You know, I would rather do this than write text or write an essay on myself, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So this in itself is a great way of understanding your what you do and what your passions are. And also, I guess, relating to passions, do something that excites you and makes you happy. You know, like I couldn't imagine doing anything else.
Really? That's nice.
Yeah, because I get to help people on a daily basis. I get to, I don't want to use the word empower again, but I love enabling people to do their own thing. You know, like I don't want to be that guy that dips in, does an all right job and disappears and then charges them every time they need a font update or text or whatever. I want them to be able to do it themselves.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
So,
that's an admirable way of working. So congratulations on your success so far, Simon. Wishing you lots more of it in the future. But thanks for coming on today. And hopefully some people listening will be interested in coming to speak to you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, this is fun. Cool.
Okay, thanks, Simon.
All right, take care. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.